Empress Nixara stood alone in the star spire while her court celebrated victory. The war had ended, they said. The Dominion was safe again. Nixara felt only one truth. Her daughter was missing. Princess Captain Alara vanished in the final minutes of the Battle of the Ashen Corridor. The last transmission was static, then a warp flash and silence. Search crews returned with scraps of metal and empty hands. Chief Advisor Vale entered and bowed. Your Radiance, the Sector 9 scans are complete. No beacon, no life signs. Nixara did not blink. Say the real word. Vale's voice dropped. They believe she was vaporized. After he left, the chamber became a cage of quiet. Nixara crossed to the mourning basin. Black-silver ash still stained the rim from the funeral rites she had performed 3 nights ago because tradition demanded it. The priests called it closure. Nixara called it lying to herself. Her hand rested on the cold stone. It trembled. Alara had been stubborn and brave, the kind of leader soldiers trusted. Nixara remembered their last talk before launch. "You are my child," Nixara had said. "And I am their shield," Alara had replied, smiling as if it was simple. Nixara had let her go. That choice sat inside her like a weight that never moved. Light years away, on a shattered world, under a dim red sun, a human scavenger named Jonah Pike was fighting a smaller battle, keeping a drone from chewing his gear. "Not food," Jonah muttered, tapping the drone's claw away from a med core. The machine chirped and rolled back, offended. Jonah turned to the cave's corner. An alien woman lay under a thermal sheet. Her armor was cracked. A deep cut crossed her collarbone. Jonah had found her half buried in a crater, distress light blinking weakly. He had dragged her to shelter and stitched what he could. Now she stirred. Violet eyes opened, clear, sharp, and trained. She tried to rise. Pain stopped her. Her hand shot out and caught Jonah's wrist with surprising strength.
"Where am I?" she asked, voice rough. "Alive," Jonah said. He offered water. "Drink first." She stared at him, then at the drone. "You are not a Larry." "No," Jonah replied. "Jonah. I pulled you out of a crater. You were sending a distress ping." Her breath hitched. "My name is Alara Nixara." Jonah went still. Even humans who avoided the war knew that name. Royal blood. Frontline legend. A person who could start a crisis just by breathing. Jonah had saved her life. Now he had to survive what her life meant. When Jonah restarted her beacon, it would not broadcast one survivor. His emergency blood transfusion had fused his biomarker to hers. The signal would announce 2 linked heartprints, and Empress Nixara would hear both. The alien queen thought her Tao. The alien queen thought her Tao. Alara tried to sit up again. The moment she moved, pain flashed through her chest like a hot blade. She sucked in a sharp breath and forced herself to stay calm, but her eyes stayed on Jonah as if he might turn into a threat. Jonah raised both hands. "Easy, I'm not your enemy. You're injured and we're on a dead rock with bad weather and worse surprises." Alara looked around the cave. The shelter was crude but organized. A small heater hummed near a pile of scavenged parts. A little metal drone sat on a stone, watching her like a curious pet. "This is not Dominion territory," Alara said, voice steady but tired. "Not even close," Jonah replied. "This place doesn't belong to anyone who values their life." Alara swallowed. Her throat tightened. "My crew, my ship," Jonah hesitated. He didn't want to lie, but he didn't want to crush her either. "I didn't find anyone else. I'm sorry." For the first time, Alara's control cracked. Her gaze dropped to her hands. They were shaking. She pressed them together as if squeezing them hard enough could hold her grief inside. "I failed them," she whispered. Jonah crouched a little closer, careful not to invade her space. "You didn't fail because you survived. You survived because you're tough. That matters." She stared at him, eyes glossy but angry. You do not know what it means where I come from. Survival is not always honored. Jonah's voice softened. Then maybe your people need to learn something from you. Alara's jaw tightened, but she didn't argue. She accepted the water pouch. Her fingers brushed his, and she froze. Jonah noticed, too. What? Alara's eyes narrowed. Your scent. It is wrong. Jonah blinked. That's not the first time I've heard that. She ignored the joke. Her gaze went to a small medical kit beside him. What did you do to keep me alive? Jonah shifted awkwardly. You lost a lot of blood. The medcore I found was old. It couldn't synthesize enough fast, so I gave you some of mine. Alara went very still. That was the only way, Jonah added quickly. You were dying. I didn't have a choice. Alara's breathing slowed. She looked at him as if seeing him for the first time. Not just a stranger, but a risk, a complication, and something else she could not name yet. Human blood inside a royal body, she said quietly. That is unthinkable. Jonah gave a small shrug, trying to act calm. Well, think it now. It worked. Alara closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, her voice was controlled again, but the fear underneath was real. If the Dominion finds this, they will not forgive you. Good news, Jonah said, pointing toward a cracked comm unit on the wall. The Dominion won't find anything unless we want them to. Alara lifted her chin. We must send a secure beacon. My mother must know I live. Jonah stared at her. Your mother is the empress. If we ping her systems, half the galaxy will sniff it. Alara's eyes hardened. Then let them sniff. I will not let her mourn a lie. Jonah exhaled and turned on the comm unit. A weak light blinked. The device searched, then locked onto a long-range relay. Alara watched the screen. Her face was calm, but her hands clenched at her sides. The system finally displayed the outgoing signature. Alara's eyes widened, because it did not read as Alara Nixara, single life print. It read, Alara Nixara, bonded biometric chain detected. Secondary heart print, human. Jonah swallowed. That doesn't look good. Alara's voice dropped to a whisper full of dread and surprise. My mother will think you have taken me. The beacon fired into the void, straight into the Empress's war room, where Nixara would see her daughter alive, and a human linked to her blood, marked like a claim. The war room lights dimmed as the long-range relay delivered a single, sharp tone. Empress Nixara looked up so fast, the officers around her fell silent. For 3 nights she had slept in armor, telling herself it was duty. The truth was uglier. She was afraid that if she took the armor off, she would finally feel the loss. Show me, she ordered. A hollow screen opened. A lifeprint signature scrolled across it. The room's scanners verified the code as royal grade, unforgeable. Alara Nixara, active. Nixara's breath stopped. Then the next line appeared. Bonded biometric chain detected. Secondary heart print, human. A cold wave spread through the chamber. Nixara felt it in her bones before she saw the reaction on everyone's faces. General Kor slammed a fist onto the table. A trap. Vale, the chief advisor, leaned forward, eyes narrowing with careful interest. Or an abduction. A human linked to her blood. That suggests contamination at minimum. Nixara stared at the screen. Her throat tightened. Alive. Her daughter was alive. That single fact should have filled her with joy. Instead, it brought fear with teeth. Alara would never bond herself to a stranger, Kor said. Not during war. Nixara's voice came out low and sharp. She also would not send a beacon if she could avoid it. That means she is injured, stranded, or hunted. Vale folded his hands. Then we should act quickly. We must retrieve her before the public learns the details. A bonded human could be used as a symbol against the throne. Nixar's eyes flickered to him. Against the throne, or against you. Vale bowed slightly. Against stability, your radiance. My concern is only the Dominion. Nixar turned back to the screen. The coordinates were faint, hidden behind relay layers, but not impossible to trace with Dominion resources. And if the Dominion could trace it, so could enemies and scavengers. Her chest tightened. Aelara, alone, on a hostile world. A memory hit Nixara so hard, she almost flinched. Aelara as a child, standing too close to a training beast, refusing to back away because she wanted to prove she wasn't afraid. Nixara had admired her courage. Now it terrified her. "Lock down this room," Nixara ordered. "No transmissions, no leaks. If the court hears human bond, they will turn this into a trial before my daughter even steps onto a ship." General Kor nodded. "Send the fleet?" Nixara shook her head. "A fleet announces weakness. It invites every opportunist in the sector." Vale's lips curved slightly. "Then a covert unit. Quiet extraction." "Yes," Nixara said, but her gaze sharpened. "And I will choose the team." Kor hesitated. "Your Radiance? If the human is a captor." "Then we remove the threat," Nixara cut in. Her voice did not tremble, but her hands did, just enough that she clenched them into fists beneath the table. She leaned closer to the holoscreen, eyes fixed on the bonded marker. The Dominion's ancient codes treated blood chain links as claims. Some called it a rescue bond. Others called it ownership. Either way, it was dangerous. Nixara whispered, so softly only the screen heard her. "Aelara, what did you do to survive?" Far away, Jonah and Aelara watched the comm unit's indicator fade after transmission. Outside the cave, the wind changed direction, carrying a new sound, deep and distant, like metal cutting the sky. Aelara's eyes widened. "That is not a storm," she said. Jonah grabbed his pack. "Then we move. Now!" The beacon had done its job, but it also lit a flare in the dark, and whatever was coming first, it was coming fast. The sound grew louder, low, heavy, and wrong. Jonah felt it in his teeth. Not thunder, engines. Aelara tried to stand and nearly fell. Jonah caught her. She looked angry at needing help. Then pain stole the fight from her face. "We can't stay," Jonah said, packing fast. "That beacon lit us up." "My people will come," Aelara insisted. "Maybe," Jonah replied. "But the first to arrive are usually not the good guys." He guided her out into the canyon and toward an old mining cut. Aelara walked with discipline, but every step cost her. Jonah heard her breathing, controlled, almost stubborn. "I should not look weak," she muttered. "You're not weak," Jonah said. "You're hurt." "In my world, leaders do not bleed in public." Jonah kept moving. "In mine, they bleed, then get up anyway." They slipped into the mine tunnel. The roar passed overhead, then circled back. Aelara listened, eyes sharp despite the pain. "That is not Dominion design," she said. Jonah nodded. "Scavengers, raiders. They'll sell anything." Aelara's shoulders stiffened, including me. A sharp ping snapped at the tunnel mouth. Jonah's small drone chirped and rolled behind a rock. Aelara's gaze tightened. "Sensor dart," she whispered. "They are searching." Jonah pulled a palm-sized EMP charge from his pack. "I can kill their scanners for a minute. After that, we run." Aelara studied him, wary and curious at once. "You speak as if you have escaped hunters before." Jonah didn't answer. His silence was answer enough. Lights spilled into the tunnel. Rough voices followed, excited, greedy. Jonah's pulse hammered. He pressed the EMP to the wall and looked at Aelara. "When it hits, stay close. Don't try to be a hero." Alara's eyes flickered. "I am trained to be one." Jonah's voice softened. "Then, be trained to survive." For a heartbeat, something raw showed on her face. Fear, relief, and the shame of needing someone. She nodded once. Jonah triggered the charge. White-blue sparks cracked through the tunnel. The lights outside died. The voices turned into angry shouting. Jonah grabbed Aelara's wrist and pulled her deeper into the mine. Boots hit stone behind them. "She's here!" someone yelled. "The Royal's here!" Aelara flinched at the word Royal, like it was a collar snapped around her neck. They rounded a corner and stopped cold. A sleek craft hovered ahead, silent as a blade. Dominion technology, but stripped of insignia, painted matte black. The ramp lowered with a soft hiss. Aelara's breath caught. Rescue? Jonah's skin went icy. Or a cleanup crew. A tall figure stepped down, face hidden behind a silver mask. The voice was calm, practiced, and not kind. Princess Alara, the figure said, by authority of the throne, you are secured, and the human will come with us, alive. As the masked agent stepped closer, Jonah noticed a Dominion crest hidden under fresh paint, one used by secret enforcers, not rescuers. The masked agent stopped 3 steps away and kept their hands visible. That calm was almost worse than a weapon. Princess Elara, the agent said again, voice smooth like practiced ice. You will board, now! Elara lifted her chin, even though Jonah could see the pain pulling at her shoulders. Remove your mask. A pause, then a slow shake of the head. Not required. Jonah leaned closer to Elara and whispered, This is the part where we run, right? Elara's eyes stayed on the agent. If we run, we die tired. The tunnel behind them filled with angry raider voices. Flashlights flickered in the distance. The scavengers had recovered from the EMP and were coming fast. The masked agent turned slightly, as if listening to a private channel. Your enemies are minutes away. Elara's tone sharpened. You are not Dominion Honor Guard. We are not ceremonial, the agent replied, but we are loyal. Jonah watched the agent's boots. No dust, no tremble, not raiders, not normal soldiers either. A professional problem. Elara took one careful step forward. If you are loyal, then speak my mother's name. The agent did not answer right away. That tiny delay hit Elara like a slap. Jonah felt her body tense. Her pride was armor, and it was cracking. Empress Nixara, the agent finally said. Elara's eyes narrowed. Say it like you mean it. For a heartbeat, the agent's voice lost its smooth edge. The Empress wants you alive. That is what matters. Not home, not safe, just alive. Jonah didn't like that. The raiders' lights bounced closer. Elara looked between Jonah and the ramp of the black ship. If I board, Elara said, the human boards with me. The masked agent's head tilted. The human may accompany you as an asset of interest. Jonah blinked. Did you just call me a piece of equipment? Elara almost smiled, but it vanished under fear. Do not joke right now. Jonah swallowed the joke anyway and nodded once. Okay, asset. I can do asset. They moved onto the ramp. The inside of the ship smelled sterile, like metal and cold air. Jonah's skin crawled. He had been in pirate ships, junk haulers, even prison transports once. This felt worse because it pretended to be clean. 2 more masked figures stepped in, silent, and scanned them. Elara stood straight as a blade while the scanner light passed over her wound. When it reached Jonah, it paused. A chime sounded. Bonded chain confirmed, a ship voice said. Secondary heartprint, human. Elara stiffened. Jonah's stomach dropped. One of the masked figures spoke softly, thinking Jonah could not understand. If he stays close, the bond stays stable. The agent replied, just as soft. And if the bond is stable, the court cannot deny it exists. Elara heard the tone, even if she didn't catch every word. Her eyes flashed. What are you planning? Containment, the agent said, until the Empress can decide what to do with your new complication. Jonah's chest tightened. So this isn't a rescue, it's a holding room. The agent stepped closer. It can be both. The ship lifted. Jonah felt the floor hum under his boots. Through a small window, the mine mouth shrank, along with the raiders' lights, now too late to matter. Elara exhaled slowly. Jonah saw her hands shaking and hated that she tried to hide it. Then Jonah noticed the nav screen. The route was not aimed at the capital. It was aimed at a location marked in red. Purification Station, Vale Authority. Elara saw it too. Her face went pale. She whispered, That name belongs to my mother's advisor. And Jonah realized the twist. The first ship to reach them didn't come from the Empress. It came from the man who wanted to control what her return would mean. The alien queen thought her Tao. The alien queen thought her Tao. As the ship jumped to warp, Elara felt a hidden injector press against her neck, and the last thing she heard was the agent murmuring, Make her sleep. The Empress must meet the right version of her daughter. Jonah woke to a low buzzing sound and the taste of metal in his mouth. For a few seconds, he did not remember where he was. Then, the memory hit him. The black ship, the masked agents, the nav screen, and Alara collapsing after the injector. He sat up too fast and nearly fell again. His wrists were locked to a chair with soft restraints. Soft enough not to bruise, strong enough to hold. The room was bright white, clean and cold, in a way that made Jonah feel dirty just for breathing in it. Across from him, behind a clear barrier, Alara lay on a medical bed. She looked smaller without armor. That scared Jonah more than any weapon. Her chest rose and fell slowly. A thin band of light circled her throat, reading her pulse and blood chemistry. Another band circled Jonah's arm. 2 heart prints, chained. Like a leash, a door slid open. The masked lead agent stepped in, followed by a man in a dark robe with calm eyes and a thin smile. He looked like someone who never raised his voice because people obeyed him anyway. The agent bowed slightly. Director Vale. Jonah's stomach tightened. So, you're him. Vale glanced at Jonah like he was checking a number on a list. The human. Interesting that you survived long enough to complicate history. Jonah pulled against the restraints. Where is she taking me? And don't say, for her safety, like I'm an idiot. Vale's smile did not change. Princess Alara is being stabilized. She will be presented to the empress when she is suitable. Jonah stared. Suitable? Vale moved closer to the barrier and looked at Alara with fake pity. Her return is a political storm, a royal bonded to a human. People will whisper that she was captured, corrupted, or worse. The Dominion cannot tolerate a symbol that weakens faith in the throne. Jonah's throat went dry. So you'll erase me. Vale finally looked directly at him. His eyes were steady, not angry. That was the frightening part. I will not erase you, Vale said. Not yet. Your blood is the lock. The bond stabilizes her recovery. If we separate you too quickly, she could die. Jonah's voice cracked with disbelief. So you'll keep me alive because you need me to keep her alive? Correct, Vale replied. And, while you're alive, we will decide what story fits best. Alara stirred. Her eyelids fluttered. She woke slowly. Confusion first, then fear when she saw the restraints, then anger when she saw Vale. She tried to sit up. Pain stopped her. Still, she forced her voice to work. Vale, you dared. Vale bowed with perfect manners. My princess, you should rest. Your mother has suffered. We must give her a reunion that heals her. Alara's eyes burned. You drugged me. I protected you, Vale corrected, stepping closer. From raiders, from scandal, from your own impulsive choices. Jonah saw her jaw tremble. Not from weakness, because she was fighting to keep control. Jonah saved my life, she said, voice shaking with emotion she hated showing. He did not take me. He did not harm me. Vale sighed, as if she were a difficult child. Then you will confirm that, on record. You will say the human forced the blood transfer. You will say you endured it for survival. And you will say you wish to be cleansed of the bond. Alara's eyes widened. No. Vale's smile thinned. Then, the Dominion will say it for you. Alara turned her head and looked at Jonah through the barrier. Her expression changed. Less warrior, more human. She whispered, barely audible. I am sorry. I dragged you into my world. Jonah swallowed hard. Hey, I'm still here. And I'm not letting him write you like a piece of propaganda. Vale tapped a control panel. A soft hiss filled the room as a tiny needle arm lowered near Alara's neck. Careful, Vale said quietly. If you become difficult, we can keep you asleep. We can keep you quiet. Alara's eyes flashed with pure terror, not for herself, but for what silence would allow others to do in her name. Vale leaned closer and spoke the sentence that froze them both. The Empress arrives soon, and she has already been told the human captured you. Will she listen to her daughter, or execute the abductor on sight? The door to the medical chamber opened with a slow, heavy hiss. Jonah's heart thumped once hard. He knew that sound from old war footage, Only high-ranking arrivals got doors like that. Quiet, controlled, made to feel like fate. Then Empress Nixara stepped in. She was taller than Jonah expected. Not because of her crown, but because she carried herself like the room belonged to her breath. Her face was calm, but her eyes were not. They were tired in a deep way, like someone who had been holding pain for too long. Behind her came two elite guards and a small group of officials. At their front was Vale, wearing the soft smile of a man who believed he had already won. Nixara's gaze landed on Aylara first. Aylara tried to sit up. The collar light tightened. She winced, then forced herself still. Her lips moved. Mother. The word came out weak, but it hit Nixara like a blade. For half a second, the Empress stopped breathing. Jonah saw it clearly. A mother fighting not to fall apart in front of a room full of sharks. Nixara walked closer, slowly, as if one fast step might break the moment. Her hand hovered above Elara's face, almost touching, then stopping. You're alive, Nixara whispered. Elara's eyes filled. Yes. Nixara's fingers finally touched her cheek, gentle and shaking. That touch was so careful, it hurt Jonah to watch. It was love, wearing armor. Then Nixara turned her head and saw Jonah. He was still strapped to the chair, restraints clean and neat, like he was an exhibit. The barrier between them made him feel less human, more problem. Nixara stared at him, and the warmth in her face cooled. Vale stepped forward smoothly. Your radiance. The human was found linked to the princess's blood. Our agents recovered them before raiders could move the princess off-world. Nixara's voice stayed quiet. Linked? How? Vale glanced at the scanner bands, as if he had rehearsed this. A forced transfusion. A crude survival act. The princess endured it. Elara's head snapped up. No! He's saved! The collar light pulsed. Elara's breath caught. She clenched her fists and fought the pain, tears slipping down anyway. Jonah felt rage rise in him like fire. Nixara noticed the collar. Her eyes sharpened. Why is she restrained? Vale's smile never changed. For her stability. She is wounded and emotionally distressed. Nixara stepped closer to Elara's bed and placed 2 fingers on the pulse band. Her eyes narrowed as if listening to something deeper than numbers. Jonah didn't know how royal tech worked, but he saw Nixara's expression shift. Confusion, then recognition. She looked back at Jonah again, slower now. What is your name? Nixara asked. Jonah swallowed. Jonah Pike. Nixara studied him. Did you take my daughter? Jonah's throat tightened. He could lie and maybe live. But Aylara deserved the truth. No, Jonah said. I found her dying. I gave blood because the MedCorps couldn't. I didn't know who she was until she woke up. Aylara forced her voice through pain. Mother! He is telling the truth. Vale's tone turned soft, almost pitying. Your radiance. Trauma makes victims defend their captors. We have seen it before. Nixara's eyes flicked to Vale, cold, warning. Do not speak of my daughter as if she is weak. The room went quiet. Nixara stepped toward Jonah's chair. Up close, Jonah could see the small tremor in her hands. Anger? Fear? Or the effort of staying controlled? She looked at the scanner on Jonah's arm, then at Aylara's. 2 heart prints, Nixara murmured. Chained. Vale leaned in. Yes, unnatural. We can cleanse it. Quietly. Nixara's voice dropped. Cleanse or erase. Vale's smile thinned. Whatever the Dominion requires. Nixara lifted her chin, and for a moment, Jonah saw the Empress, not the mother. Release the human, she ordered. Vale froze. Your radiance? Nixara's eyes cut like glass. Now. The guards hesitated, looking at Vale like he was their true commander. And that told Jonah everything. Vale's fingers slid into his sleeve, pressing a hidden control. Because if Nixara freed Jonah, Vale's story would die. So he triggered the station's purification protocol, and the room's alarms began to scream. The alarms were so loud, they felt physical, like fists beating on the walls. Red lights flooded the medical chamber, turning everyone's faces into sharp shadows. A cold voice echoed through the station speakers. Purification protocol active. All external communications sealed. Contaminants to be contained. Nixara's head snapped up. Her eyes went straight to Vale. You did this, she said, quiet and deadly. Vale did not deny it. He only lifted his hand, showing a small control device resting in his palm like a jewel. I acted before you made an emotional mistake, Your Radiance. Nixara stepped toward him. You restrained my daughter. You drugged her. You called it loyalty. Vale's smile thinned. I call it protecting the throne from scandal. A bonded human is a poisoned story. The people will not forgive it. Elara tried to rise again, breathing hard. Mother, don't listen. The collar at her throat pulsed. Pain hit her like a wave. Her voice broke into a gasp. Jonah's chest tightened with anger. She needs help, Jonah shouted. Not a cage! Two guards shifted, unsure who to obey. Nixar's gaze cut to them. Release them, she ordered. For a second, the guards hesitated. Then one moved, toward Jonah's restraints. Vale's eyes narrowed. He clicked his control. Electric currents surged through Jonah's chair. Not enough to kill, but enough to steal breath and force a groan out of him. Jonah's vision blurred. Elara cried out, not from her own pain this time, but from his. She reached toward the barrier, fingers shaking. Stop, Nixara snapped. Vale's voice stayed calm. You see? The bond reacts. The human is leverage, whether you want it or not. Nixara's face flickered. Rage, fear, then something softer. Regret. Jonah realized she was looking at her daughter and thinking, I almost lost you once. I won't lose you again. Nixara moved fast. One hand grabbed the pulse band on Elara's arm and ripped it free. The machine chirped in protest. Her other hand slammed onto the room's control panel. Vale's eyes widened. You don't know what you're... I know enough, Nixara said. The barrier between Jonah and Elara snapped off with a hiss. Jonah sucked in air, coughing, and immediately grabbed the restraint's latch. This model uses magnetic locks, he muttered, voice rough. If I short the coil... Nixara leaned in, crown inches from Jonah's face. Can you free yourself? Jonah met her eyes. Yes, but we can't separate too far. That chain will hurt her. Elara forced herself upright, trembling. Nixara supported her, and for the first time, the Empress held her daughter like a mother, not a ruler. I'm here, Nixara whispered into Elara's hair. I should have been here sooner. Elara's eyes shone. I needed you to trust me. Jonah snapped the coil with a small tool and the restraints released. He stood, legs weak but working. Okay, next problem. How many people on this station want us dead? Vale stepped backward toward the door, already retreating. You cannot outrun a protocol. The station will lock down, then cleanse the bond by force. Nixara's voice turned steel. Then we take the control core. They rushed into the corridor, doors sealed behind them, cutting off Vale's path, but not stopping him. He was already moving through another route, like he had planned this for weeks. Ahead, a sign flashed in red. Broadcast chamber. Lev link. Ready. Elara froze. He's going to send a confession. Jonah's stomach dropped. And make it look like you're saying it willingly. Nixara's jaw tightened. Then, we stop him. They ran. Elara supported between them. Pain in every step, determination in every breath, toward the chamber where Vale could rewrite the truth for an entire empire. When they burst through the final door, they found Vale already on a live transmission, Elara's face on the main screen, while the station's system counted down, cleanse in 03 Zahu. They burst into the broadcast chamber and stopped like they hit a wall. Elara's face filled the main screen, only it wasn't live. It was an older clip, pulled from her military records. Her voice played over the speakers, clean and confident. I submit to purification. I reject the contaminant bond. I request removal of the human. Jonah's stomach turned. That's not her. Vale stood at the control desk, calm as a priest at a funeral. His finger hovered over a final button marked, Confirm Live. Beside it, a timer blinked. Cleanse in 0241. Elara trembled between Jonah and Nixara, tears of anger shining in her eyes. He is using my own words. Nixara stepped forward. Stop this, now. Vale looked at the Empress as if she were merely another obstacle. Your radiance. The Dominion needs a clean story. I am providing it. Alara pulled herself upright. Pain tore through her, but she forced her voice out loud and raw. Mother, let me speak. Nixara hesitated for one heartbeat, then nodded. Do it. Jonah spotted an auxiliary mic near the floor, meant for technicians. He grabbed it and shoved it into Alara's hand. Talk. I'll buy you seconds. Vale's eyes narrowed. Guards. 2 station guards rushed in, but Nixara turned on them with one command that shook the room. Kneel, she said. They froze. Training 1. They dropped to one knee, trembling. Jonah lunged for the control desk. Vale moved faster than Jonah expected and slammed a palm down. The system beeped and locked him out. Too late, Vale said softly. The broadcast is already routed. Nixara's voice turned cold. You forget who owns the routes. She lifted her hand and pressed her royal signet to the main panel. The station recognized the blood code instantly. Override accepted. Empress authority. The fake recording cut out mid-sentence. Silence hit the room. Nixara pointed at Alara. Live feed now. The screen flickered, and this time, it truly was Alara. Pale, injured, breathing hard but real. Across the Dominion, people stared. Officers, citizens, priests, soldiers who had mourned her. Alara swallowed and spoke in simple, shaking words. I am alive. I was not taken. I was saved. She lifted her hand and looked at Jonah with a brief, grateful softness. This human, Jonah, gave me his blood when I was dying. He did not know who I was. He chose to help anyway. Vale's face tightened. Your radiance, she is unstable. Nixara snapped. Enough! Ilara's eyes burned now, not with fear, but with truth. Director Vale restrained me. He tried to put words in my mouth. He tried to make my mother believe a lie. The room behind Vale shifted. Even his own agents looked uncertain. Nixara stepped closer to Vale, voice low and final. You used my grief as a tool. Vale backed toward an emergency hatch. I protected you from weakness. Nixara signaled the kneeling guards. Arrest him. For treason. They rose at once, this time without hesitation, and seized Vale's arms. His calm finally cracked. No, he hissed. You will regret letting the bond exist. Nixara looked at Jonah, really looked at him. You saved my daughter. Jonah's voice came rough. I just did what I could. Nixara nodded once. Then, you will be protected. Not as an asset, as a person. Alara exhaled like something heavy had finally left her chest. Nixara held her close, and for a moment the Empire saw not a throne, but a mother with her child returned from death. Outside the chamber, the purge timer stopped. And across the Dominion, the story changed. No longer about contamination, but about survival, courage, and a bond that refused to be used as a weapon. In the weeks that followed, people would still argue about the human blood in royal veins, but for the first time in years, the Dominion argued about peace instead of war. Let this message ignite your faith, rekindle your hope, and spur you to stand firm on your journey. Thank you for staying with me to the end. If this story stirred your heart, drop a like, share this video with someone who needs it, and hit that subscribe button to catch more content like this. May God's blessings overflow in your life, and I'll see you soon.